city or her county responsibility.
Okay, so just for the record,
please
because
note-
the recording was stopped, I just want to go through the roll call again. I'll just make a note. Teresa is here. Stephanie is here. Darlene is here. Who's the Zoom user? Elena is here, and Mrs. B is here.
And Susie's here.
Susie, awesome. Is that the Zoom user?
Right. I'm sorry. I just ran in the house.
Well, great.
happy
It's so
to hear,
good to see Susie's here. Excellent. Very good. And then visitors include the mayor, and Renee Wells is here. Hello, Renee. And Jen Gregory from Downtown Retail Strategies, and Brian Coleman from California Go Biz. So, all right. I'm done, Renee. I mean, Elena.
Okay, well, thank you, Brian. So we would like to, it looks like we've missed minutes for May 18th, June 15th, July 20th.
You're breaking up again, dear.
And August 17th, so I hope it was approved. Hello?
We hear you.
Does anybody
So
want
did
to
you-
talk about any of those minutes?
I would like to ask, what is the correct spelling of Luke's last name? Is it Krebs or Kurt?
Curbs.
Okay. Because I see it spelled both ways.
I'll make that correction.
All right.
I know Darlene had a couple of corrections. Did she submit those to you, Brian?
No, that it consists of edits, minor edits. Darlene?
Yeah, they were just minor
Yes.
changes in spelling and a few grammatical things.
Okay. All right. Well, with those, with the notation that Darlene is going to send me minor editing changes via email. Any other changes?
None that I have.
Nope.
So we move to approve the minutes for May 18th. Can we do them all together, Brian, or do I have to do them individually?
No, I think we can approve them all together. We've got a lot to do tonight, and that just makes a lot of sense. If there doesn't sound like there are any significant changes.
No. So May 18th through August the 17th, as noted in our advisory committee Wednesday, September 21st meeting agenda, we'll move to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second that, or Teresa will second that.
Thank you.
Teresa, you're kind of quiet too, actually.
I second it. Sorry, Brian.
Okay,
I was
there you
muted.
go. Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Unanimous. All right, very good.
It sounds approved. Now, we would like to welcome our mayor and our technical advisory committee. And then we'll get reports from the SEDS and the SURF from, is that gonna be
Yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, so, and first of all, there's a public comment portion usually. Anything anybody wants to talk about that's not on the agenda, let us know. Okay.
I don't
Nothing,
see it.
so
No.
no hands are up. Okay, very good. All right, so then.
So
next
is
on
there a
the-
report?
Go ahead.
Next on the agenda, it looks like we have a technical advisory team and reports from the SEDS and SURF. I'm assuming that's from Renee, or is that gonna be Brian?
Yeah, no, I think that we'll get right into Renee's presentation. Renee, are you ready for that? Let me make you co-host if you are. Okay, go ahead, Renee.
I don't see it.
I'm having a little difficult with my camera, so hold on just a minute.
Okay.
Hey, Brian, I was going to suggest, do you want me to provide a GoBiz update and update on surf in the meantime while Renee is working on her camera?
Yeah, let's do that. Do you need
Okay.
to be co-host for that?
No, I'm just going to give a quick little update regarding surf and a couple other announcements from the state and our office. So good evening, everyone. Apologies, I'm going to probably likely have to jump off this meeting a little bit early. I have dinner obligations tonight, but wanted to jump in, give an update, and also listen in as much as I can to receive updates from San Benito County, San Juan Bautista. So regarding the SURF program, just a little recap. This is the state funding grant that's going to be provided to various regions throughout the state to support economic development planning and implementation of economic development projects. So I think the last update I gave, the application period for entities to apply to serve as the conveners for each region, that ended back in July 25th. We were hoping to have the, when I say we, our interagency team overseeing the grant, we were hoping to have all the scoring and evaluation completed and the announcements made by then or by now. I can say that most of the scoring and evaluation has been completed. However, we're still in the process of making a decision in a couple of regions. Most of the regions have had a applicant selected or an awardee selected, but we're still waiting on a couple of decisions to be made in a couple other regions. And so until those decisions in those other regions are made, we'll have to still hold off in announcing the recipients of the awards, but we do expect a public announcement from the EDD very short. So that's all I have regarding the SURF program. Another announcement I want to make out of our office. So GoBiz recently received $600,000 in funding from the U.S. Small Business Administration to continue the STEPS program. And this is the State Trade Expansion Program. And I'll provide details about it in the chat. But basically what this program does, it's designed to offer financial assistance for small businesses looking to receive support for exporting their business operations overseas. This is actually being managed by a separate unit in our office, the unit responsible for international trade and export. So I don't have too much detailed knowledge on this program, but it's eligible for most small businesses throughout California, and they can receive up to $10,000 in funding to reimburse for export promotion related expenses. And so I'll put that link in the chat. And then
just send that to me, Brian.
Okay,
no
yeah. Looks like I don't have the chat function on my end. Yeah,
Brian,
I have a question from Teresa.
yeah, I was trying to write that down. State trades exchange, what was the P for?
Expansion.
Oh.
So
State Trade Expansion Program.
Correct.
Oh, okay, I had exchange, expand.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and
thanks.
this program, apparently it's been active since 2011, but this is the first year that our office will be administering or operating it. And so Yeah, I'll provide more information about it in the chat. I would encourage you to share. Oh, it looks like we have another question from Alina.
So can you send Brian the parameters on participating in the program?
Yeah, there's
Did you hear me?
yeah, there's a list of eligibility requirements. I'll kind of read them off real quickly. It has to be a for-profit business. The business has to be organized or incorporated in the US. Majority of operations have to be in California. The goods and services that they export have to be of US origin or have at least 51% of its origin be from the US. They have to meet Small Business Administration small business size standards, and they didn't clarify what those standards are, so I would have to do a little bit more deep diving to figure that out. They have to be a business registered with the Secretary of State and the California Secretary of State and be in good standing with that department. They have to be in business for at least 1 year at a time that the funded activity takes place. And then have sufficient resources to bear the costs associated with trade, which includes costs of packing, shipping, freight, forwarding, and customs brokers. And so the link I send will list off that eligibility criteria, and there's also additional links to the program guidelines, what the SBA's small business size standards are. And the application period is actually active as of now, but the first application period, which starts now, runs till November 18th, or the first round, I should say. So there's some time for businesses to apply for this program. Yes, Renee, I see your raised hand.
Brian, I had a question about the SURF
Yeah.
grant. This is the planning phase, and when is the announcement going to be made about who the recipients are?
So still don't know an exact date, only because I feel comfortable sharing this information. Essentially, there's a few regions where they had multiple applicants that were very competitive. And so they're mediating between our office and our interagency partners who are working on the grant. They're mediating those applications at this time. The EDD, which is doing the administrative functions for the SURF program, they'll be the ones making the announcement. And my understanding is they want to hold off until all the regions have an applicant who's been awarded. They want to hold off until all the regions have been awarded before they announce all the winners. That was their explanation to our staff. And so I can say as of now this is a fluid as I probably alluded to, this is a fluid process. So I don't want to say this definitively, but we're hoping that the announcement will be made by mid-October at the latest, but it could be basically any day now.
Brian, are you able to say whether the Central Coast is one of the multi challenges?
Unfortunately, I cannot. The reason is my understanding is that this is information I'm getting from my superior. So this is like, secondhand accounts almost, but a few degrees of separation for me. But my understanding is they don't want us to even disclose that information because they don't want to give any perception that there's conflict with certain regions. And so they don't want to even have us share which ones, which they don't even want us to disclose what regions have already been selected so that, people could possibly do process of elimination. So unfortunately, I wish I could. I know it's so hard for me not to disclose this information to y'all, but this is the pieces of information we've been shared, and hopefully more information and a public announcement will be coming out shortly.
Okay, thanks, Brian. I
Yeah,
appreciate
no
it.
problem.
I understand your situation. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah,
Good.
pretty much
So
just a
maybe-
messenger at this point.
So maybe within the next couple of weeks, it'll all shake out.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, they were saying the information we got was mid-October at the latest is when they're hoping. Yeah, so
All right, good.
it could be any day now. And the announcement will likely be made by the EDD. They'll send out a mass public announcement through their communication channels. And I'm sure whoever is the recipient in our region, they'll probably make an announcement as well, a broad announcement.
Very
But
good. Thank you.
yeah, real quick, have just a couple more announcements. I'd like to announce this one. This announcement I feel like is relevant to the entire Central Coast region because of the activities around the Uplift Coalition. But I was at a Defense Leadership Summit up in Sacramento at the end of August, about 3 weeks ago now. And the Governor Newsom made an appearance and announced that our office is going to, he announced the establishment of the creation of a space industry task force, which will be led by our office in partnership with the Office of Planning and Research and the Labor Workforce and Development Agency, and then the Governor's Military Council. And the purpose of this task force is to essentially expand the commercial space industry throughout California. It's basically, it was just a broad announcement, and still, working out how it's going to be structured at this time. But essentially, the purpose of this task force will be to attract, retain, and expand space industry companies in California, create workforce development programs to create jobs in that sector, support research and development, and expand infrastructure and logistics to support the space industry in California. And so it's a really exciting announcement, especially exciting for the Central Coast region, given the Uplift Coalition and DART initiatives in this area to expand space and aerospace, the space and aerospace industry sectors in this region. So that was a really exciting announcement as well. I think that's all I have from GoBiz.
Good,
and
very
yeah.
good.
I'll send over that information with a link to the STEPS program over to you, Brian, so you can distribute it to the group. And
Great. Thanks very much, Brian. That was very helpful. And that's great news about the task force.
mhm.
I think employment is very important. So I think we're ready to with that, ready to hear about. I don't know if is there a desire on the part of the committee to hear retail strategies first, or to hear SEDS first? I know Jen Gregory is here from Downtown Strategies, and she has a presentation. Do you know about how long your presentation might be, Jen?
I can keep it brief. So 5 to 7 minutes or so, and then answer questions.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay.
Would everyone agree to hear Jen first?
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Yeah, I would say 10 minutes would be great.
Okay,
Wanna do
sure.
that? Yeah.
Yes, of course. If you
Let me
would
make
give
you
me
co-host.
screen sharing. Yes, thank you
Yeah,
so
let me do
much.
that. Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for the opportunity to visit with you this evening. My name is Jen Gregory, and I am the president of Downtown Strategies at our company, Retail Strategies. So you'll hear those names interchanged, and I'll kind of explain how they relate to one another and how they could potentially serve you. So I am coming to you actually from Starkville, Mississippi. So it's a little bit later over here in the South than on the West Coast, but we do quite a bit of work with our friends in the West Coast. So really happy to be with all of you tonight. My experience is in downtown and community development, downtown revitalization. I'm a former practitioner for about 15 years and also worked for a federal legislative branch governmental agency and have brought those public policy expertise over with me to our company. I joined Retail Strategies about 3 years ago to start our Downtown Strategies platform. So this slide will give you a little bit of an overview of our company. So Retail Strategies is our company. We are headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama, but we have offices in Fort Worth, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Starkville, Mississippi, and also Foley, Alabama. We are a community development consulting firm. We started out primarily recruiting national retail to communities. So, you know, thinking about communities that are looking to expand their economic development presence, to recruit new businesses, but really looking at national brand franchises and other brands that most people are aware of, and focusing on using our real estate and retail experience to facilitate that transaction and bring those businesses to your community. Over the years, we heard from our clients that, yes, that is great. All of that work you're doing on our commercial corridor is great, but the heart and soul of our community is our downtown. So how can you help us with that? So that's when I joined Retail Strategies. And so in addition to that national retail recruitment focus, we also have a program, Downtown Strategies, that is a strategic planning initiative, but short-term, kind of highly implementable strategies. And I'll go through that today. We also have a program called Retail Academy, which is where we train leaders, elected officials, and economic development professionals on the retail recruitment process and empower them to go out and do it themselves with customized data and a retail recruitment plan. And then similar to what Brian was talking about, we have a small business support program as well, where we have partnered with communities in California, Washington, and others to train their small businesses on things like getting their businesses online, restaurant recovery, and the like. So really position ourselves as just a community development firm that centers on our trust-based relationships with municipalities. This is a map of our Downtown Strategies partners. So you can see quite a few in California. We work in Lindsay and formerly worked in Manteca. So those are both close to you guys. On the retail recruitment side, we have many more partners in California than this. Communities like Stockton. Stockton actually is partnering with us for retail recruitment and downtown revitalization. Also Lemoore, many, many others. So we're very familiar with your region is the long and the short of it, I guess. Our Downtown Strategies team is led by myself and my colleague, Jeremy Murdoch. We are practitioners. So we have done this work and then we moved into the private sector where we assist communities creating those plans. But where we differ from a lot of downtown planning and design firms is that we're really rooted in retail and real estate. So our director of real estate, Elliot Cook, brings experience about backfilling vacancies or about positioning, retail for catalyst development. So really looking at that part of your community. This evening, I'm going to be speaking with you guys about our Downtown Strategies platform, but I know that in the past, Brian and Matt Tate, my colleague, who is our West Coast specialists, have talked about national retail recruitment. If that is something that you guys want to talk about tonight, I can certainly talk about that as well. But I think for this for this meeting tonight, we'll focus on downtown strategies. Is that right, Brian?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay, excellent. So with our downtown strategies service, basically our end result, our deliverable that we're providing is a 5-year strategic plan. And that's very intentional. You have a lot of firms that will create master plans or 20-year plans. I know that you guys have an update on your comprehensive plan later this evening. All of those are extremely important pieces to cities. But when we think about downtown, things change rapidly. You know, retail changes hands, new grant money is available. And we believe in plans that don't live on the shelf, but are actually implemented. And in focusing on that, we need to have a shorter time frame. So 5-year plans is what we put together. And our process, it has really 3 parts. First, our discover phase. We want to understand your community economically. So again, because we are rooted in retail and real estate, our company spends about $250,000 a year on data and GIS. And that's what the retailers use, the national retailer. So we have to have that same data. Downtown Strategies is a benefactor of that data as well. And we share that with our partners. So we will look at, and I'll share a little bit more about this with you in a moment, but we will look at your community. We'll look at cell phone activity. San Juan Bautista has a lot of tourists. And so those aren't counted on the census, but they make a big impact to your economy. So we're able to understand who are those tourists, where are they from, how far are they traveling, how long are they staying in your community, which helps inform our plan. Our second phase is our connect phase. And that is that we can't do a great plan unless we get in your market and see it with our own eyes, get to know your property owners, your business owners, and your team as well. So that is where our strategic visioning workshop comes into play, which I'll detail in just a moment. And then our third phase, advance. What we put together, you can implement. That is the goal. That is how it is designed. When we are assembling our plans, these are what we call our 5 pillars. We think that healthy and vibrant downtowns kind of sit on these 5 pillars. The first, market analysis. Talk to you a little bit about that, and we'll share more in just a moment. The second is design. What does your downtown look like? Yours is beautiful. It is historic. You have several buildings on the National Register. You have the state park, right, with 9 minutes from the center of your downtown if you're walking. So a lot of great assets, beautiful architecture. But we want to think about beyond the buildings, the built environment, like the sidewalks, the crosswalks, and maybe even a block off of your Main Street area. Next is tourism and promotion. Mentioned this already. You have the Anza Trail, you have the state park, you have a lot of elements that people are coming to see. How can we get them to spend a little bit more time and spend more money while your downtown still remaining true to its authentic self? Economic vitality. This is, I think, probably very important to you guys as a committee. Downtown serving as an economic engine. Your businesses thriving, making money, and also it being a center of commerce. And then lastly, policy and administration. This is where we see a lot of opportunity for growth, and California communities in particular is looking at policy, things like incentives, existing zoning ordinances, shared use parking agreements, lots of different things like that. So our strategic visioning workshop is about a half day, 3/4 of a day workshop where our team will come to your community. And here is kind of a little sample agenda. We start out meeting with your team, so your economic development committee, hear kind of the off the record, opportunities, but also barriers, politics, things that every community has. We do a walking tour of the downtown, looking at the built environment, the real estate. Are there vacancies? What about 1 or 2 blocks off of your main corridor? And then we have probably the most important part of our workshop, which is our stakeholder input session. And that is where we facilitate a visioning session with your stakeholders. So your property owners, business owners, maybe it's the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Historic Preservation Group, whomever has a vested interest in downtown, or just the public. And we hear from them what they love about your downtown, but also maybe what they'd like to see change. That really creates buy-in, and it lends some excitement to the planning process. And then we put together that 5-year strategic plan, focusing on, a strategic asset-based approach. So we look at what do you have today and what can you start doing tomorrow to continue the great work that you've done, but really build on that. So we're not putting something together that's pie in the sky or saying, if you had all the money in the world, here's what you could do. We're really looking at what you have now and how you can enhance that. Also, the plan is market driven. Talked about that market analysis. We want to put strategies together that make sense economically for your community. And so a lot of different elements that could potentially be in that plan. Every community's plan looks very different. Downtown Lindsay's plan would be totally different than yours because they have an extreme amount of vacancy. They're really starting from scratch, whereas you are not. So just briefly, I kind of want to go over some of the market analysis components. Sometimes communities are trying to determine what types of businesses are missing from their business mix downtown. If there is a vacancy, what business would be successful here? And we are able to really fine tune that, narrow it down, again, using cell phone data. So our cell phones are tracking us, whether we realize it or not, if those location services are turned on, when those apps send you notifications, it pings your location, and companies like ours can acquire that information, not about you personally, but in terms of trends. And that really helps us layer data. We do look at the census. We do look at other reports from the United States Postal Service and other entities, but that cell phone data is critical, and it's refreshed every quarter. So we're able to bring you very fresh post-COVID data, which I think is helpful for communities. We create a custom trade area to see who is shopping in your downtown, who is shopping and where are they coming from? What are they buying elsewhere that potentially you could serve in your community, in your downtown? So those kind of, again, narrowing down those uses is so important. And here's an example of a tourism report. This is one that we did for one of our partners in Chewelah, Washington. This is just their Ace Hardware, which is a location on their main street. But we are able to see what percent of visitors what percent of shoppers over the course of a year live beyond 100 miles from that location, which is very helpful. And how far are they traveling to visit you? How long are they in that specific location? The average dwell time at this Ace Hardware is well over 2 hours. So really good to know also, again, where those individuals are coming from. Policy, we are looking at things like zoning and codes. This is an example of a community where we worked with them to implement a form-based code rather than a use-based code, which really allowed for a mix of uses. This is very different architecture than yours, but just an example of how a space can be transformed with codes. For design, we are looking at streetscapes. And while you guys have gorgeous buildings, you have some barrels with planters and earth plants and things like that, which is great. Those are things we want to see. How can we build on that? In this community, you can see this view up on your top right was the before. There were really no trees, very low shrubs. And we worked with them to recommend a specific variety of trees. These maple trees were planted, and 8 years later, this large photo, this is not a rendering, it's an actual photo of how that space has transformed. So what cost about $8,000 for this community totally transformed the experience. Again, different scenery than yours, but a good example nonetheless. Other things like facade improvements. A lot of your buildings are in good shape, but again, just a block off of 3rd Street, and you start to see some opportunities for enhancement. This is something I think is a huge, huge opportunity for San Juan Bautista, and that is wayfinding signage. When I scroll your market on Google Street View, I don't see signs pointing to the state park or from the state park pointing to the downtown, or from the trailhead pointing to the downtown. So these directional signs not only brand your community, but they enhance the visitor experience, which translates into more dollars spent. And we're talking a lot about visitors, but we don't want to forget that the enhanced experience benefits the local residents as well, just as much. So while tourists do present a new economic opportunity, we certainly don't want this to become Disneyland. We want to preserve the integrity of your beautiful community. Here is a picture of a Main Street, and we talk about reimagining Main Street, using your asset, using your inventory for creative purposes. For this, it was a big concert right in the middle of Main Street that fit this community. So really thinking about how to enhance that experience. And in economic vitality, if you have large vacancies, especially on some of your side streets, what can be a modern day use for those? Retailers aren't looking for 5,000 square feet anymore. They're looking for 1,000 square feet. So how can we empower property owners to reimagine their spaces for modern day use, but also while still preserving the architecture of that space? And part of the way that we do that is through analyzing your real estate by looking at what is available and what the strategy is for some of those pieces of real estate for a modern day use. Last thing I want to mention, in addition to our strategic planning initiative, we do have an implementation support offering as well. So for communities that are looking to kind of expedite the implementation, after the plan is delivered, we will partner with the community for the rest of that first year to start implementing parts of that plan on your behalf and in collaboration with you. So you're implementing some of those grassroots efforts while we are creating policies for you that you approve, of course, or we are providing a property owner training and providing custom marketing materials for some of your property owners, whatever the case may be. That is an option, certainly not required. So here's a timeline. If we were fortunate enough to partner with you guys, it's a pretty quick process. Within 60 days, we would be in your community doing that strategic visioning workshop. And then that plan would be delivered another 4 to 6 weeks later. So 3 to 4 months after we officially engage, you would have that strategic plan. We would hand it off to you and you would start implementing it. Or if you chose to partner with us for implementation support, then we would begin that implementation as well. And the big question, how much does this cost? Transparently, that strategic visioning workshop 5-year plan is $25,000 for us to come to your market, facilitate the workshop, run all of the data, and present that plan to you. If you are interested in the implementation support for the rest of year 1, that's an additional $20,000. So potential of $45,000 in year 1 with $25,000 each year thereafter to keep us on for implementation. But again, these things don't have to go together. You can just do the workshop and receive that plan for $25,000. So I know hopefully I made good use of your time, but be glad to answer any questions that any of you have before you proceed with the rest of your meeting.
That was wonderful. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question. I'm just wondering, this is Susie with Troublemaker Toys and Comics. Do you have anything that represents kind of a small town like ours where it shows it before and after? I mean, just other material other than what you just presented. And then this is a question for Brian. And I don't know if I'm speaking out of line, but is this something that would have to go out to bid, or is this something that you would be able to make a decision and move forward with something like this?
I think that's a very good question. I think that what we would do is we would want to look at how well this program integrated with the other economic development activities that we've been talking about. And I know Darlene's been talking about California Main Street. I know this program here integrates very well with California Main Street. So there is a sort of process for bidding stuff like this. But there's also a way to consider that some consultants are uniquely qualified to meet the needs of the community. And so as we look around for consultant assistants, especially those with special expertise in retail, especially economic development oriented retail, we want to look at what is our vision for our overall program, and if we feel that some consultant assistance is uniquely qualified to meet those needs, then it's really not necessary to go to bid. That's kind of a quick answer, but really would be looking at our overall economic development program and looking at how well this sort of assistance it's not a quick fix. Nothing that we're talking about. When we first started this, we said, well, we're in this for the long haul. This is a marathon, and so we'd be looking at how well the consultant team would be in that kind of context. Is it good planning? Is it good implementation? And what's the long-term benefit to the community given the alternatives? So that's the kind of evaluation we would do, and we wouldn't simply just go for it. We would look at it carefully and make sure that it made sense.
And to answer the other part of your question, and just a side note, I actually started a Main Street program here in Mississippi in a community, and was on the Mississippi Main Street board, and we are a partner of Main Street America, Downtown Strategies is. And so I've written blog posts for them and spoken at their national conferences. So regardless of if you work with us or not, which we hope you will, but we can certainly provide advice and assistance as you consider that next move. We would highly recommend it. To answer your question about communities your size, yes, we have worked with communities your size indeed, more particularly in the other parts of the country. We haven't worked with any quite as small as yours in California, but in Alabama, in Virginia, in North Carolina, and in Mississippi, Illinois as well. We have worked with small communities, and really, every downtown is unique. While yours has a small population, you are a tourist draw, you're a destination, which makes you a little bit more comparable to larger communities in that regard. So I wanted to mention that. And then as it relates to kind of success stories, we do have a number of success stories that we can share with you. They're across the board. Some relate to real estate, some relate to facade programs, some to policy recommendations that we made, rezoning and kind of reimagining old historic homes that were not being utilized to kind of create a secondary Main Street. So everything is very custom to that community, but we do have success stories that I'd be happy to share with you all.
Very good. Stephanie.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Jennifer, for the presentation. Couple of questions. Have you been to San Juan physically yet?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Okay. Couple of things that maybe we need to put up front. We have several moving parts here. We have the largest mission in California within 1 minute walking distance of the downtown area. We also have the State Historic Park within about 1 minute walking distance. We've had problems forever, as far as I understand it, about all three of those areas communicating and coming up with a good, solid plan where everyone can work together. Is that something that your group would work with and help us with?
It is, and probably my best example of something comparable to that is a college town. We work in many college towns of various sizes, and they have similar situations often where the university or the college For example, Oberlin, Ohio is a partner of ours, and Oberlin College is right there on the edge of downtown, but they don't communicate a whole lot. They want to, they value each other, but the systems just aren't in place. And so decisions are made kind of in a silo. And so part of our efforts there, especially through our implementation, is to facilitate a community roundtable. We set up the community roundtable, kind of created goals and objectives for those. And that has really added to the communication and enhanced the overall outcomes.
Okay, yeah, I think that's been attempted already.
Okay, sure.
And then also you had mentioned national retail recruitment, just so you know, we have a no franchise ordinance here in town. So that would not come into play. And then you mentioned that it was only $8,000 to add those trees to the downtown area and spiff that up. That seems awfully inexpensive.
Yeah, so that was just for the tree material, and when they were purchased, they were not full grown. They were very small, and it took, many years,
So it
8
was
to 10 years.
$8,000 just for the plants.
That's correct. And this is
Okay.
for about a 2-block area with maple trees on key corners, and then elm trees and planters kind of mid-block.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Sure. Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jen? Our our intention here is to look at a programmatic approach to downtown investment and growth and development of the retail base in San Juan Bautista, and in a way that is sensitive to the context here. And I think that there are a variety of approaches depending on where you go. What's good for Lindsay, California is maybe not so great for San Juan Bautista. I know a little bit about Lindsay, so I know that's definitely true. We're not going to do what Central Valley communities, even the smaller communities, might do in the way of economic development. That's not the kind of town we are. And we're not going to do what Gilroy or Hollister does either with respect to retail investment and enhancement strategies. And so, we're looking for a program. We're looking for a way to develop a unique program tailored to San Juan Bautista's unique character. And that's always going to be true. There's a couple of steps here before we actually settle on any particular approach. We're looking at a comprehensive strategy for San Juan Bautista. Retail strategies are an essential part of that because that's a big part of who we are. We serve visitors and residents alike with those retail opportunities. But we have a lot to do. We've got 3rd Street master plan. We have an economic development strategy to create and then to implement. So certainly a comprehensive approach is really warranted. So I appreciate that, Jen, very much.
Thank you all.
Yes, and tell Matt, thank you very much also. And then certainly be in touch. If the committee needs more information or would like to ask more questions, then we will be in touch. Our thought is that the Economic Development Citizens Advisory Committee will recommend to the City Council a particular approach for dealing with retail strategies and 3rd Street master planning and economic development for employment growth and for retail investment. So.
That sounds excellent. Thank you all for the opportunity to join you this evening, and we look forward to talking with you soon. You all have a wonderful night.
Thanks very much, Jen.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Renee.
Oops. I took my video off for a second. Hi, everybody. I was really impressed with Jen's presentation. I think it could be something really good for Hollister as well. So maybe I can get her contact information, and if you can provide me a copy of the video, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
That's what collaboration is all about, right? If it doesn't work for one, it might work for another.
Absolutely. And I really like the long-term collaboration and the commitment to long-term success embodied in the strategy, whether it's this firm or another firm. I think that, we're talking about, needing to stay in the game till we achieve
Your goals.
improvements. Yeah.
I agree. And I just want to mention that I was happy that Brian mentioned the National Science Foundation project that he's working on with the Uplift Central Coast. We have partnered with the Uplift Central Coast to make sure that San Benito County is included in that effort, and especially because we have Hollister Airport. So I'll be attending all their meetings and preparing a press release about our efforts on that behalf. And I'll be sure to update you. I know
before you
ahead.
begin your presentation, Helena, I know we're going to go past 7 o'clock. Do we want to get everybody's buy-in to go to 7:30? Everybody okay with that? Okay, good. Helena,
I'll
are you
try to
still
be
there?
quick. I'll try to be quick.
But don't be quick. Just be good.
Okay. All right. I'll try. I'll try. So if you will, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. Helena, did you have something you were saying?
Helena, we're having a real serious audio problems with you. Yeah. Go ahead, Renee.
Okay. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, let me make you co-host.
If everyone's open to that, would you just raise your? Yes, I'm here. And the connection seems to be bad for why, but go ahead, Renee.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So I think I've given an overview before about the SEDS, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, and hopefully everyone has had a chance to look at the last version. But if not, I have a link at the end of my presentation where you can go and see the current SEDS that we're going to be updating for 2023 through 2027. Let me just move down. Oops. Okay, so just to give a brief overview, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy is a 5-year strategic driven plan that contributes to effective economic development in communities and regions through a locally based, regionally driven economic development planning process. It engages stakeholders in the county in meaningful conversations about what best serves economic development in the region, and establishes a strategic roadmap for regional collaboration and prosperity, and builds on the strengths of the region, as well as identifies gaps and issues in resources, expertise. I'm having problems with here we go. With the SIDS in place, agencies seeking funding in the county are more likely to attract federal funding, and it's a prerequisite to any agency qualifying for Economic Development Administration or EDA funding. As you know, EDA has a lot of grant offerings throughout the year that cover a lot of different areas. And so we want to make sure that our SEDS is current. It needs to be updated every 5 years. It's a requirement. And this specific update for this next 5-year period has a requirement that specific projects from each jurisdiction are included in the SEDS by which each area is going to be seeking funding from the EDA for. If you don't have them included in the SEDS, it's unlikely that they will be funded. So it's very important that we reach out to each of the cities and to the county officials and make sure that everyone has input in the kind of projects that they want to have included in the SEDS. It also needs to be adopted by the county officials and reviewed and approved by the EDA. I think you probably already all know that the SIDS cost about $100,000. We've hired a qualified contractor who knows the county and is ready to commit the 6-month timeframe to develop a working document for the region. The current one expires this year in December, but due to the lack in getting the funding from the EDA until mid-July, the EDA has approved an extension until we can review and approve the next SEDS version. So we have plenty of time to get it done. Of course, we don't want to delay it too long. So we're going to be starting October and hopefully have a draft. Originally, it was going to be a completion by March of next year, but we're wanting to extend that just a little bit longer, have a complete draft by the end of March, and have a full completed approved by the county and the EDA by the end of by mid-June. The consultants that we've hired after reviewing numerous proposals were the Wallstrom and Associates in association with Marie Jones Consulting. So it's Stephen Wallstrom and Marie Jones. You all have a copy of the handout, so I won't go into too much detail, but I wanted to let you know that Stephen, who's heading the project, was a contributor to the CALID, which is the California Association of Economic Development Associations California, and the EDA was a contributor to putting together the recently published Economic Development Recovery and Resiliency Playbook, which can be found on CALID's website, which is www.calid.org. It's a great tool. I think I've distributed to everyone through our distribution a couple of months ago. The useful guidebook covers topics such as economic development roles in recovery and resiliency, infrastructure systems, understanding your economic development base, labor supply and workforce community culture, geographic assets and vulnerabilities, and tools for implementation. So if you don't have a copy of this, you can find it on CALID's website. I find it a very useful tool. It's a pretty thick guidebook that walks you through a lot of different sections, especially as a new Economic Development Citizens Advisory Committee. I think it's very important. Let me know if you can't find it. I'll be happy to provide you with a copy. So the contractor that we've solicited and hired is going to be working with EDC and the SIDS Strategy Committee, which is the principal facilitator of the SIDS process. And it's responsible for developing and updating the SIDS. The committee broadly represents the main economic interests of the region, the cities of Hollister and San Juan Bautista and the San Benito County overall, to conduct reviews of existing research, strategic plans, programs, develop a regional plan of action and implementation plan, identify economic development goals and objectives for each area in the region, develop and implement the framework for business retention program, like resources, outreach, and financial assistance, incentive programs, and develop a viable SIDS that will create a strong sense of regional cooperation and partnerships between businesses and government. And in the end, develop performance measures for the SIDS that we can track over the next 5 years. The SIDS includes a summary background of the economic conditions of the county, an in-depth analysis of the county's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, which is also known as a SWOT analysis. It includes a strategic direction action plan that builds on findings from the SWOT analysis and comes up with, identifies responsibilities for implementation, timetables, and opportunities to integrate use of other local and state and federal funds. It also includes an evaluation framework to define performance measures and evaluate the implementation of the SIDS and impact on the county economy. So the timeline for the SIDS update for 2023-27 is now in place. We're going to start in October, and even though it says through March, we'll probably have a full draft version that everyone can review by the end of March. And it might take a little bit more time to finalize that. So we'll be working on reviewing existing information, background documents. We'll have a kickoff meeting with stakeholders. We'll form the SID strategy committee. And the strategy committee will make up, it will include the County of San Benito, County Farm Bureau for Agriculture, Workforce Development, Resource Management Agency, the City of Hollister, the City of San Juan Bautista, and Economic Development Citizens Advisory Committee members, the Hollister Downtown Association, of course, the EDC's board members, San Benito County Business Council, Hollister Airport staff or officials, hospitality, winery, and event-related organizations, housing authorities, Monterey Bay Economic Partnership Group, San Benito County Chamber of Commerce, some Latino business owners, educational institutions, environmental and land use officials, biotech and manufacturing, developers, utilities, and transportation. So it has a lot that's going to be in that strategy committee, but we don't want to make it too large. In the last SEDS, there were 60 different groups that were involved, and it was very time consuming. And we feel like it would be better to keep it to about 20 to 25, and then have subcommittees of other groups that we will meet with that won't be involved in, the overall SID strategy committee. But their input is very important, and we want to make sure everyone is included. And that's why we want to make sure that we have plenty of time to make this an important document that we can track and follow, and will be a tool for the community and county for the next 5 years. I think the last SID strategy was a document that was required, and it was facilitated by the EDC under a different group. I was not a part of it, and most of my board wasn't. And we want to make sure this time, I want to make sure especially that it's a tool that we use, we evaluate, we have input, we reassess, so that if there's something that's not on target, we change that. And we make sure that we, use this as a good tool to make sure we're on target with our policies and practices for the county. And so then we will, once we have the SID strategy committee in place, we will go through determining the socioeconomic conditions, list of stakeholders to be interviewed, the priorities for economic development initiatives, key economic sites, and other relevant topics. We'll go into phase 2 in November and December to talk about establishing goals and priorities for the county. We'll have our first SID strategy committee meeting. We'll initiate stakeholder interviews, establish visions and goals. And then in the next phase 3, we'll have a plan development phase where in November, December, and through January, we'll be analyzing socioeconomic trends, prepare the SWOT analysis, evaluate ongoing economic development initiatives, have a second strategy committee meeting, develop benchmarks and performance measures, document San Benito County's economic resilience status, document methods of utilizing opportunity zones, which San Juan Bautista has a 66 square mile piece of, which is very important to our community and our region to use. In phase 4, we'll prepare the SIDS report, have a draft, and then we provide 30 days for the public to review and provide comments. It's very important. We'll have our final SIDS strategy committee meeting, and instead of preparing a final report, I think we'll have a draft one and then develop hopefully in April and May. I think by end of May, we should have a final document ready. It all depends on, it took so long to get the consultant on board due to the EDA's delay in funding, and they already had prior commitments. So because we're not under time constraints with the EDA in this funding effort, we want to make sure it's a really good tool, and we'll spend the time we need, whether it takes 6 to 7 or 8 months. We want to make sure everyone has input and is included. I think Darlene had her hand up. Did you want to ask a question, Darlene?
In the beginning, you said something about project development. Now, can you give me an idea? Is that something like the downtown revitalization kind of thing that we're thinking about?
Yes. Anything that you might want funding for, okay, that the EDA would provide funding for. So we will talk to you about projects, whether it's infrastructure, transportation, tourism, anything like that, to revitalize your downtown, whether it's San Juan Bautista, Hollister, the airport in Hollister, whatever it is. We want to make sure those projects that you have in mind that you would be seeking funding over the next 5 years for, yes, okay, are included in the SIDS.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Brian.
So now I'll just open it up for questions.
Yeah, I noticed in your slides in the very end, you state that the SEDS document will go to the Board of Supervisors for final approval. But got 3 jurisdictions in San Benito County, and some consideration being given to having the SEDS document approved by city councils in addition to the Board of Supervisors?
I agree with you, and I think that's something we need to talk about. It's just that the Economic Development Administration, their requirement for the SIDS is that it's approved by the county because it's a county official document. It represents the whole county, but we will make sure that each jurisdiction, each area in the county reviews and approves it. And that's why we want to make sure that the SIDS strategy committee has individuals from each of those agencies are included and has the opportunity to review and review those with whether it's the City Council for San Juan, your Economic Development Advisory Committee, the Board of Supervisors, the City Council of Hollister. We do want to make sure that everyone's on board and has reviewed it and approves it and has a time frame. So that's why we want to spend as much time as we can before it goes to the Board of Supervisors for approval and then the Economic Development Administration.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The EDCAC is going to have a role on the strategic committee, because the recommendation for approval of the SEDS will come through the EDCAC.
I agree.
So you're not going to go directly to the city council. That's the purpose of the EDCAC, is to look at all economic development concerns, including this strategy. So looking forward to that.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I just have a quick question.
Sure, Teresa.
It sounds like this is really short term. I mean, you're talking next May, having a complete report together. Have you received projects from the different communities, or are you at the beginning stages where you're just putting the word out?
We're just starting. We are working with with Hollister and San Benito, the County of San Benito, on projects that they're moving forward with their consulting firm, their grant writing firm, which you guys also use, which is California Consulting. I think that's who you still use, right, Brian? Do you still have a contract?
We do. However, California Consulting isn't going to help us with determining what the project should be. I think that if we're going to have engagement with the EDC on what our project should be, that really is something that, again, the EDCAC needs to engage with the EDC on what those projects should be. And because the EDCAC is comprised of people who are affiliated with different groups in San Juan Bautista, it's expected that there would be outreach from the EDCAC that's brought back into EDCAC discussion, and then there would be some recommendation from the EDCAC through the City Council regarding what those projects should be. And I know that there are projects that the community's been discussing. So it's not going to be a big challenge, but it's going to be essential that we have a great transparent process in that regard.
I agree with that.
Very good question.
I agree with that. And, we're working with a consulting firm just to make sure we're not duplicating efforts, and that these are specific larger projects that over a 5-year period, will be seeking funding for the overall county. So I appreciate that.
The other thing that I want to mention here is that we have these subcommittees that, one of which does responsible for outreach. And part of the SEDS process is going to involve projects that are not necessarily strictly local. And so if there's a way for San Juan Bautista to participate in programs that are going to benefit the city, that are not necessarily local in scope, then certainly we would want to identify those and promote those within the program as well. So there's a lot to talk about.
I agree. And, the consultants that we hired are going to be doing the majority of the work on this. They've done many of the SEDS before in different counties. They're familiar with San Juan Bautista especially. Not so much San Benito County overall, but, they're well educated and well versed in being able to do this project. So they're very familiar with what needs to be done, but are always open to suggestions. And there is no set rule of thumb of how this is done. Every county is different, and ours includes a lot of different varieties of things, whether it's tourism or being able to get along with city, county, and all of that, as you know. So it's good to have an outside source that's working on that doesn't have to be involved in those, I should say, political arenas.
Very good. Thank you very much, Renee.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Let me know if anybody else has questions. Thank you.
Fun program. I think we're good. Unless there are any other questions, I think we're ready to, and I'm just going to go ahead, Helena. I'm not sure where you're at. But we need to move on to subcommittee reports. And, we have 3. I think everybody's been doing great work this past month. I know the Community Relations and Resources Subcommittee has just done a tremendous job, and so has the Business Development and Retention Subcommittee. And then I know the Outreach Subcommittee has struggled, but I think that Darlene's been doing a yeoman's job, if you will, of pulling a lot of stuff together. So let's just start at the top, if you will. And Darlene, you want to talk about your subcommittee?
Well, I want to start off with, I know that MBEP gave their, and John and I are going to be attending a meeting next Friday that they're having, a regional meeting, and they are looking at the region, and this part of the region, with this national aeronautic and space stuff, they want to put on the Central Coast. They have identified the San Benito and Santa Cruz counties more as the drones and robotic kinds of things. I was able to share with them that we're hoping to get Strada Verde in here with the autonomous vehicles going. I think that will work right into that. I was also very pleased to listen to the downtown thing that Jen just gave, because she mentioned Main Street America, and I have been doing a lot of research with the California Main Street, and I think Brian has gone ahead and started the sign-up process for us. I was hoping, do we need to, is that something that we need to vote on to say, yes, let's get this going? They have several conferences coming up. There's one on February 21st and 23rd that I really strongly urge the Downtown Business Subcommittee to attend, and possibly if we can talk the San Juan Bautista Business Association into it. This is about reactivating downtown. There's a California Preservation Foundation webinar coming up this September 27th through the 29th, which is tools for saving places. What I like about Main Street, California, or California Main Street, is that it's all about revitalizing places and making them livable, as well as encouraging business. Then there's the California Economic Summit Conference that's coming up in Bakersfield. This is for the state of California because we want to be able to get things on the budget, I think, by January for the governor to look at. Then, of course, Facebook Meta is launching a new business support program. That's going to be in San Diego. T-Mobile has a hometown grant project that's coming up, and they're invested in helping communities across America thrive, and that's why we're committing $25 million to small town grants over the next 5 years, and that starts with us. Then I heard from a lot of the different communities. The one that I'm going to pick out and share is, Livermore sort of has this Witches and Warlocks event every October. People donate to the Downtown Association or the Chamber of Commerce, whoever's running it, and they get seating in restaurants for a certain amount of time, and then they have slots. So they have slots to eat and drink, and then they go shopping. Okay, and this is done in waves. They have about 3 different waves of this, and I think we could work this into our ghost walk. But a lot of because of the time of year, a lot of the communities had something around this. They had Taste of Downtown as another possibility. I would urge that if you want to look at this more closely, that Brian sends you the link to the documents that I've printed up. Another thing that I know that's coming up on meeting on October 3rd is the Pinnacles Gateway Partners meeting. Again, that's a regional thing. I know that Craig Kaufman's in charge of this at the California Welcome Center in Salinas, and they're going to be introducing new initiatives, economic data, and research about Pinnacles National Park and the surrounding gateway communities, of which we are one, and San Benito County, in a way, is one. So there's going to be outreach and support for these initiatives, and they're going to be revitalizing tourism and hospitality sectors in our communities. And then there's a sign up for that. So any case, that's kind of in a nutshell what I've got going. There's a whole heck of a lot more. I did meet with some UC Berkeley urban design students on Sunday who are exploring rural urban designs. They're going to send us something for each, they're going to send each of the communities that they visit something to look at. So we can even get to look at something that they can reflect on, and we can give back feedback a lot like we did in the charrettes. So it will be a fun experience to do that. So any case, and it would work into anything that we decide to do for if we decide to hire the downtown people as well as getting into California Main Street. But my main question is, do we have to, does this group need to approve becoming a member of California Main Street, which is a lot less expensive right now? I think it's what, $1,000 or a little over that. And so we can get in and be a member, because we're not quite in as a member yet. I know that.
Yeah, there are a couple of things there's some action items on the agenda. One is a recommendation regarding retail strategies to the City Council. I think it's premature, probably, to make that recommendation, but it is possible to make a recommendation to the City Council that we evaluate the need for such services, because I think it could be really valuable, something that the EDCAC might. Well, I'm going to distribute the slideshow for this evening, and look around to see if there are other firms that provide the same service. And definitely, we don't need City Council authorization for California Main Street. However, I do think it would be important for the EDCAC to indicate that that they believe you believe California Main Street would be a great resource for this committee, and we can sign up tomorrow.
Okay. Well, do I need to make a motion for that, or are we not yet there?
Absolutely, yes. We
Okay,
can just jump to your action item.
Okay, I move that we basically become a member of California Main Street and avail ourselves of its resources, because they do have a lot of resources and they have a lot of consultants to help us. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. But
yeah,
I do. I have.
Okay. Well, let's hang on just a minute. So just procedurally, there's a motion to join California Main Street, and then is there a second? So that there can be some discussion.
I second.
Okay. Mrs. B second. So let's have some discussion.
Brian, I think I would like to know a lot more about what this is. I know it's only $1,000, but I would like to really, all I know is California Main Street. I'd like to have some details before we move ahead with this.
Okay, very good. Anybody else?
I like the idea of getting a little bit more information, and we can just look it up now. But I think Darlene, who is part of the communications person for our group, has vetted the group enough, and she's not someone to make decisions hastily, that it's a good idea. So, because we're kind of stagnant in our city right now, and we need some kind of assistance and direction through vetted organizations. And if this could be a viable resource, at $1,000, I don't think we're out of much at that point.
And I would just like to mention, just as a comment, that my intention is to prepare an annual report to the city council. That draft report would come to you in November. And I would incorporate in that report recommendations and conclusions from all your work from your different subcommittees to date. And that's a draft report. Could include recommendation to join California Main Street, could make a recommendation to develop a program similar to retail strategies, to evaluate the usefulness of consultants like that, and then to embark on the other activities that the different subcommittees are recommending in 2023. So certainly there is a great need here. California Main Street is a great resource. They have lots of information to use. Different subcommittees can use and access in doing their own work. But that said, I just want to let you know that they're beyond, this particular vote. There is a means to have, more exploration of, certain different specific strategies that we're going to be talking to the city council about.
And Stephanie, just
Yes.
to just to answer one of your questions, I think that this will put you at ease a little bit. The program offers select cities and unincorporated towns a proven framework to preserve the historic character of the downtown area by attracting businesses. So, Brian, if you could send the link to California Main Street to the group, so that everyone can be apprised of what's going on with them and how they work to preserve the integrity of our small town, historic small towns.
Yeah, and the other thing is, we have some local talent that could probably be tapped too. And I think that's why I'm bringing this all up. I feel like, gosh, this town's just so quick to hire consultants to do this or that. And then half the time the plans are finished and then they're never put in place. And, it just seems like that's what the history of this town's been. And that's why I'm having questions. And we do have people, let's face it, we have a 4-block Main Street, and we pretty much know what the issues are. We have some vacant buildings that there's one in particular that was the old Cutting Horse and the old Bank of America that has been sitting there since, 20 years. And apparently the family's just not willing to do anything with it at this point. And, we have some other vacant buildings as well. And those are the things that I'm concerned. I don't see how a consultant is going to help us with those situations. We have La Casa Rosa, that's been a black eye. We have the old brewery. So that's where I'm coming from, is I just don't want to keep throwing money at these situations that we as a community certainly know more about than any consultant would.
But I think what we're feeling to see, Brian, is that we've been here for a long time and nothing has been done. And if we can tap into some resources that's being provided, that is there, the California State Park is a part of this organization. If we can tap in some of these resources and glean and be able to use and leverage things that we haven't been able to put together, that is bigger picture than us waiting for somebody to stand up and tap into some of the local resources when no one has basically decided to help or to lend.
I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help.
So I think we can have you in conjunction with what we're trying to put together with the group. The whole purpose of this organization is to enact change in our communities on an economic level. And so everyone who's volunteering here, that's exactly what we're doing. So if you want to come in and assist, I think the organization is an excellent organization for us to be a part of, because it is an organization. It's not just a consultant. We're tapping into the resources of an organization that their goal is to preserve the economic integrity of our communities, which I believe is one of the chief things on your agenda, is to make sure that we preserve the historic attributes of our community.
Yeah, that and a lot of other things.
Okay, Teresa, your hand up. Unmute.
Okay, I'm unmuted. But just listening to this conversation makes me think that I love the idea of the Main Street. And I also like the idea that we receive the information before we make the commitment, because we're only a month away. If we get the information on Main Street, if Stephanie has some kind of information as far as local groups that can make decisions, by next month, we could make a recommendation to the city council as far as hiring this group, the Main Street group. I hear a lot of good things about Main Street.
Well, you
So,
you
but
don't hire them, you belong as a member and then you can access their tools.
right,
Yeah, so Main Street, just to clarify, is an collaborative organization of Main Street partners. California Main Street is a part of the National Main Street under that umbrella. So such as California Resources, it's others, but I think that there is a we can certainly ask Main Street representative to attend the meeting. Short notice for her for this meeting, but for next time we can make that arrangement. Not a problem. But there is a motion on the floor. There is a second, and I think that we need a vote. And the motion is to join Main Street and authorize that. That is, we basically approve that. Go ahead and join Main Street if there is approval this evening. And if not, then an alternate motion can be made to bring Main Street back to the EDCAC next month.
yeah. The only reason I would probably hesitate is I don't know their full background, but I've heard good things about them. So
Okay. So motion on the floor. Yes.
Yes,
we
we
do.
do.
Yeah. So there's a motion on the floor.
So let's vote. You can, should we do a show of hands, or how do you want to?
Up to you, Chair.
Let's vote on moving forward with joining the group organization Main Street. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye.
agree.
That's a majority, so we already are covered.
And then I think that yeah.
It
So
wasn't a
so-
majority.
Yes, it was. There's only 5 of us. There was 3 ayes.
Oh, Helena, did you say aye?
I did.
Okay.
all right.
You
So
know what, Brian? You need to pay attention because my hand was raised before the motion was made. So just for future reference on that.
okay. All right. So I'd like to hear what Stephanie had to say about when she had her hand up, actually.
Oh, no, my hand was just up for the voting. It wasn't.
Oh, I see. I see. You were voting by raising your hand. I see. Okay. So the motion passed, and nonetheless, we do need information about California Main Street. And after we hear California Main Street next month, there is an opportunity, I think, at that point to, if you want us to, there's a motion to join Main Street, but there's not a motion, not included in the motion regarding when. So if you want to, somebody can make a motion to wait to join California Main Street until after the presentation. That might be something that would be appropriate. So I'd just like to raise that as a possibility, for an alternate motion. So I think it's a vote of confidence in California Main Street, but certainly we don't have to join immediately.
So let's put it out there since it's on the table. When would we like to start accessing some of the services that they offer? I was able to, Brian, did you get it? No, I was trying to send out the URL for their organization so everyone can get a copy of that.
I'll do that after the meeting.
Okay. So is there any conversation about whether or not we want, Mrs. Baines has her hand up.
I just wanted to, I want to thank Darlene for all of the research that she's doing, all of the time she's spending going to these meetings and seminars. And we formed this group to do exactly what she's doing. And we need to have confidence in those that we're sending out to tackle certain things. So I applaud her for what she's doing. And when she comes back with these reports, that doesn't mean she sat on her sofa and looked at videos. She's out there actually going into these situations. So I think we need to trust the judgment of those of us that are working and doing what the subcommittees are supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
Very good.
Yeah, I think that the approach here is that the subcommittees do the heavy lifting, and then they bring questions and things for the broader committee to act on. And so that's what's happening this evening. It's still, with respect to the timing here, just like to leave that kind of open for anybody to, if they want sort of delayed membership after presentation, then that could be a motion. But if there's not, then fine. I just wanted to bring that up so yeah, Stephanie, have your hand up.
Yeah, I want to thank Darlene as well. She's working very, very hard. But I also want to state that I feel as a group, we need to have our diverse opinions heard, because it appears that this group tends to I feel like I'm always the outlier in it. And so I just want to make it clear that I am going to express my opinion, and it's just my opinion, and I understand that, and I do appreciate what Darlene's doing and all the other people in the group. However, I do have an opinion.
And we do respect your opinion, Stephanie, and we appreciate it. Looks like Ms. Boyd has her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that, yes, we could put this off another month, but, we're looking at a lot of stuff we can tap into coming up real fast here. And I'd hate to miss some of these conferences because we're dawdling around, because this is stuff that can get us down on the ground and running too. And I am very eager. I am glad to hear that we're going to have somebody from California Main Street come and explain their programs, because I see them more as a service that we can tap into as we need them. And that's kind of how they present themselves, and also give us some ideas of what we might need. I know the more I go out there and look and listen to them and listen to other communities, because that's what happens at a lot of the meetings, is these other communities come up with all this stuff that they're doing. For instance, I really like that Reading is right now rebuilding their historical sites with grants from the California Office of Historical Preservation. Now, I wouldn't have thought of that until they brought this up. And to keep putting off the membership, to me, it's really kind of a negative kind of thing. And I know you want to know more, but we're only spending $1,000 for this year to belong. If we want to renew it again next year, we can. If we don't want to, we don't have to. But in the meantime, we can look at a lot of different areas at one time with this group, and it's applicable to each of our subcommittees. They have things that are applicable to each of our subcommittees, and they also have 4 pillars I know that the lady that we listened to earlier was talking about 5 pillars. They have 4 pillars for revitalizing your downtown and place.
Excuse me, I would like to interrupt. Why don't we just move ahead and join it? We're wasting an incredible amount of time. And the other thing is that we waste a lot of time in this meeting. And so let's just, you guys already voted on it, just move forward.
I agree. So let's vote. I believe Stephanie's motioning to move forward.
Yes, yes.
So we
It's
need a
almost
second.
8 o'clock. I'm losing my patience.
Sorry. Who's going to second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's so passed. We will be joining.
Okay,
Should we table the other 2 committees and
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we need to hear from Community Relations and Resources. And if we can have a brief presentation from Business Development and Retention. I think if we give each of those 5 minutes, that should be enough. I just like really to hear from Community Relations and Resources, you know, with respect to your list of activities, because it's a big deal. And it's going to show up in the report, the draft report that I prepare for the committee next month. So just maybe a summary.
I
I
think
guess that would be me, and I'll try to do it in 4 minutes.
Awesome.
So just want to say our super leader, Kim, is not here tonight. And she is, she's been incredible, keeping us all organized. And I know her and Brian have been going back and forth with our meet and greets and our community engagement. Right now, that's our main goal right now is community engagement, and the and it's going to be more focused on the recreation in San Juan Bautista. What we plan on doing is we have Susie has been great. She lined up the VFW for us for three separate meetings. We'll start with a meet and greet, very casual. Just wanting to get a sense of what the community in San Juan, and we have a tendency to have small groups show up that tend to show up at all the meetings, or these focus meetings. So we're going to really reach out to the new subdivisions in town, the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, the school district, everybody that we can think of, to invite them just to give us a sense of what they want to see in San Juan, what direction we want to go as far as more, like I said, wellness, recreation, the active transportation plan, that whole bit. What can I say about that? We will be putting it out on Facebook. Mission Village Voice will be putting something in their paper. The city has something online. The city will be putting out information on the in the utility bill, the water bill. And like I said, we're just looking for a wide range of because there's so many people out there that really do want to participate, but not sure how. So we're trying to create that that place where people can come together. So basically that's it. Our first big meeting will be October 20th, and it's going to be at the VFW, 2 hours. And we're just going to be putting big paper, whatever up, and just having people identify what's you know, what the seniors want, what the kids want, what the you know, what the different groups want, and see where it goes, and not, you know, not get too stuck on all the politics of San Juan. Just saying. That's
Beautiful.
Yeah, very good. And look for those flyers. They're going to be coming out soon.
What
From the committee. We're going to provide as much assistance as we can to make these events, good for the community. So we're working as much as we can to help the committee get there. Thank you very much, Teresa.
Yes.
How about business development and retention?
6 to 8, sorry, I caught that too late.
Thank you.
So,
Business development and retention, yeah.
yes. So we've been actually meeting with our community stakeholders, like the state park, and we have another meeting scheduled for tomorrow, as well as we've met with the school district, conversations opening up with them, as well as St. Francis Retreat in regards to cross-pollination of marketing efforts to see how do we help each other, and just opening up the conversations with these groups, as well as a list of others. Mrs. B is working on, and we're going to be working together, but is on her computer that she's going to be working on, is our survey going out to all the business owners or businesses, period, because whoever they are within San Juan Bautista, to get their feedback so we can start some dialogue in regards to that. And then our group has joined a company that was no cost. It's called Strong Towns 101. And it's the principles of building a strong and prosperous place. So we wanted to, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because my connectivity has been crazy lately. We want to learn how to make our community more economically prosperous and resilient, no matter what lies ahead of us. And then part of this is a 4-part course that was offered through this grant that allows us to dive into and grab this information and have actionable items that we can actually work on. So we as business owners know what's ailing us, but we don't always know how to fix it. So we have to look and think outside the box to other organizations that have tapped into something to see what we can glean to best support and help our efforts as individuals and as a collective. And that way, when we meet, we will have some actionable intel that we can bring to our group.
Very good. Yeah, I know there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes with this committee and with the others. And so next month, all will be revealed.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've been waiting to say that for like, I don't know how long. So
9 great reveal.
yeah, 9 months. Yeah. So I appreciate everyone's patience tonight. And I know everyone else appreciates everyone's patience. So I think we're all in it together. It's hard to put this kind of thing together. Everyone's a volunteer. And, so we had some staff just talked to Dawn this morning about the importance of having ongoing resources to support economic development in San Juan Bautista. And there is a means, and that'll be part of our recommendation to City Council. And I want to encourage the committee members to think about the kind of resources that you're getting, and that how well you feel you're supported in terms of your recommendation to the City Council and for this future report, because I think that you've been doing a great job all year. It's time to say, okay, well, this is a great enterprise. We want to see it continue, and we need to look at how best to make that happen. So I want to encourage, this is one of the best committees that I've worked with in terms of involvement from the members. And so I'd like to just congratulate everyone. I mean that sincerely. So the other thing is, I would like to make sure that when we have meetings, especially subcommittees, people that are going to be giving reports, that you find a way to appear on Zoom, you personally on camera. And so if you could find a way to make that happen, I think that's increases the level of transparency. Thank you, Mrs. B. Increases the level of transparency that we have with those that are in attendance. And for those people that raised their hand that didn't get called on, I'd like to just provide a very brief opportunity for you to raise your hand and say anything that you didn't have an opportunity to say just a few minutes ago. Anybody else? Very good. I know there were a couple people with hands up, but I didn't. Jackie.
Jackie's got her
Jackie.
hand up.
Unmute.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just a audience member. I think I've sat in your meetings once before. So I just want to say that, you know, it does take a lot of work volunteering, but I feel like what I'm observing is that what you're touching on, there's actually, you know, without, I know $1,000 isn't much, but I kind of agree with Stephanie here in terms of what is it that this membership will offer you, because we do have quite a few committees already in town, and we actually have another business committee that actually, I don't know if you're all aware of, but they are doing some grassroots revitalization. They just kicked off the campaign for Aloha Fridays. So I want to invite you that this Friday and the previous Friday it was a kickoff, that all the businesses are open late, they're invited. It's a Hawaiian theme. So if you have a Hawaiian shirt, or, you know, a lei, whatever, a flower in your hair, whatever suits you, you know, flip-flops, come out and enjoy. And I think for me, I'm going to be very honest and very to the point. I feel that we do have a lot of consultants that we have invited. And I think that all of you sitting there and other people that are in maybe other organizations are our resource. And you guys have the will and the ideas to do this because you're local. You know what we need. You live here. You know, don't be afraid to think out of the box. Don't be so quick to pay someone 25 grand to tell you what in your heart you already know we need. I know what we need. We need to all work together as a team. We need to talk to each other. We have a historical society that could help you with preservation and ideas. We have HRB, we have community members, we have, you know, you're all sitting here on this board, but we also have other committees with local people. And we have 2 new housing developments, maybe a huge, you know, what used to be our annual rodeo. Stephanie and Teresa remember that. We no longer have that. Why not morph it into something like a huge citywide barbecue? You know, fall is my favorite time of the year, so I'm really partial of that. You know, a fall festival, invite everybody, flyers to both sides of the town and new developments, just get everybody together. You know, I think that's what we need is grassroots. We don't need to pay people big bucks that don't live here and look us up on the internet. That's my feeling about it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jackie. I just want to make a correction for you. The organization that we just joined is not a consultant group. They are an organization for us to tap into, get resources from that steer around historic preservation of your community. But that's the difference. Now, the first consulting group is a consulting group, the $25,000 one. And that's something that we will be evaluating later on. But thank you for your input. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I believe our time is well spent. I thank you all for extending the opportunity for us to fan out the other groups and give some insight. I do see 2 more hands up. I'm sorry. Stephanie?
Hi, I just wanted to echo Jackie about the grassroots. I really think that we all know what needs to be done. And if we do pull together as a group, I bet you would see, you know, some strength in numbers. I think that we can be the small little town that could. And I think we need to not be so, and I'm not talking about what you signed up for, Helena, or even the main street, but I think just as a concept, we need to really start pulling together a lot better than we are in the whole community. And as far as Jackie was talking about groups, having something in the fall or wherever. The town that we lived in last in Sonoma, they had a citywide party, and it was really great because there's a big square in Sonoma, kind of like the size of the state park where they have the lawn full of all the gopher holes. Maybe it's a non-lawn right now. But anyway, maybe we could pull together something like that and have a citywide party. That might be something that would really be good. And then we could get to meet all of our new neighbors, especially the people in the new subdivisions. Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Well, and that's a great idea, because something Mrs. B is working on is called Dancing in the Streets. And it's a music inspired event where there will be various music set up throughout the downtown area, and food vendors and things like that, to kind of draw not just outsiders, but the community together. It's how do we build community?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we need to do. That's what I think is more important than getting outsiders here, is first we have to heal ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we can, entertain, and we can grow and really, have outsiders come in and really present, our best foot forward, which we're not doing right now.
So maybe we can kind of fan out that offline.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It would be fun. Yeah,
I think so.
And that might be something that we include in our community engagement. I like the idea that Mrs. Baines is coming up with a dancing in the streets. That's recreation. That's fun. That's bringing the community together. So we'll just bring that stuff together. And I see it's 8 o'clock behind me here. So.
But the great thing is look at this, we're talking. It's great. We're sharing ideas.
And that's the important parts. Like you said, building community is everything. And if we heal ourselves through engagement, community engagement, and getting to know and be comfortable with who we are, then we can be supportive to the other people that are coming to our town, because we're confident in what we're doing already. So that's great. Yeah. Well, thank you all tonight. If there's no more questions or no more comments.
I have one more. I have one tiny little comment.
And then I see Renee has her.
Yeah, you're three members down, and we need talent. Please. If you know someone, encourage them to apply.
As I suggested, St. Francis Retreat is interested in being a part. Sending a representative.
I think we need to, first of all, my recommendation is that you look to the community, non-institutional members of the community. I like state parks and mission and retreat center involvement, but I really, this is a citizens advisory committee. So,
so maybe we'll look at them participating on one of the subcommittees.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. The subcommittees are anybody can attend.
Yeah, I have somebody coming home tomorrow. So
great.
Hopefully she'll get
okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Well, we have Renee with her hand up. Ms. Wells.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I know time is running out. I just wanted to mention that I won a scholarship to the Economic Development Keys course with Khaled and Fresno State. It's October 17th to the 20th. It's a virtual meeting. It's an all-day meeting for 4 days, October 17th through the 20th. It's going to be covering everything you need to know about economic development, including how to market your community, developing an economic development strategy, financial techniques, pros and cons of using incentives, business retention, expansion and creation, community assessment and planning, marketing and attraction, entrepreneurship and small business strategies and ethics. So over that 4-day period, it's going to be a virtual meeting that I'll be doing from my office.
Give her water. Thanks for grabbing the 5th cup now.
We need a mute.
And you left my soda cup. Susie, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. There you go, darling.
I just thought if there was someone that wanted, I will be glad to send out the information to Brian to
want it.
show each day's events. And if there's someone like Darlene who would like to join me during one of those 4 days, it's an all-day thing with a lunch break, but I'll be doing the Zoom from my office at the Epicenter. And I'm happy to have one other person be beside me and take some notes and bring it back to you guys. So I'll send the information to Brian. I don't want more than one person just because it is a scholarship I won, and I don't feel like that it would be good to overstep my bounds with Khaled about inviting more people to that. But I think it would be good for you guys to have some representative for that. And whether it's one person each day for a different topic, I'm happy to do that. So I'll send the information to Brian and you guys can work on that if you want. It's October 17th to the 20th.
Great. Yeah, and I'm going to suggest, based on the topics involved, outreach and business development and retention, perhaps. So we'll talk offline about that. How's that sound between those two
Sounds good.
subcommittees?
I love
Good.
that.
All right, great.
So we're going to motion to adjourn.
I move.
Who
I move
seconded?
that we adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a nice meeting. I mean, have a nice evening.
Great
Night,
meeting, you guys.
night.
Another great
Sweet
meeting.
dreams.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.